I'm John Lanius. Welcome to The Room. The Room gives you access to Geniecast top thought leaders, authors, entrepreneurs, business coaches, sports celebrities, and much more. Our guests will share ideas and concepts that you may use to better your organization and propel your teams. Today, our guest is Raul Leal. He is the former CEO of Virgin Hotels and currently is a Virgin Group board advisor for brand and design. He has over 25 years experience in the hotel industry. While under his leadership, his companies have received accolades such as Best Hotel Management Company, and his hotels have been voted the #1 hotel in the US and #6 in the world. Hi, Raul. Welcome to The Room. How are you today?
John, great. I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me.
It's so great that you're here. So beyond the introduction I just gave about you, what's important for us to know about your background?
Well, it's been longer than 25 years, by the way, but thank you for that. I've been in the industry now since I was around 16 years old, and my parents, Cuban immigrants, like a lot of people that came here to Miami, and I started off in the hotel business actually in middle school, working for my father, who, by the way, came to Miami and stayed at the same hotel for 45 years and then retired. God bless him. But I started off in the hotel business there, and I decided within a summer that I was going to be a hotel executive for the rest of my life. I used to walk in and work in the restaurant and see the general manager of the hotel come in every day and entertain and sign the bill. And I said to my dad, I think that's the job I want. So that's how my hotel career started. That was my first goal, was to become a general manager of the hotel. And I've been in the industry ever since, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. And not, it's a little dampened during COVID, of course, but we'll recover.
So starting at the age of 16, I'm sure you've done every job within the industry. Talk a little bit about all the jobs you've done and how that impacted you.
Wow, I've been really fortunate. I really have done most of the jobs. I started off in food and beverage, then I moved to the rooms department and worked my way through the front desk. And then about 2 or 3 years later, as I found out what it took to become a general manager back then, I found out that you really had to know food and beverage. Now, I was raised by an amazing mother and sister, and I really wasn't allowed in the kitchen until I was like 21. So I didn't know much about food and beverage. So I actually just decided to take a pay cut and start all over again in the kitchen, and had a wonderful mentor who helped me through those years, and then went into food and beverage and was a food and beverage director, and became the manager of a thriving nightclub back then and understood that piece of it. And then worked my way up from there as GM, but also along the line worked in housekeeping as well. Besides, took some time in engineering and sales. So really did work all the different positions. And I'm so glad that I did. I really couldn't be here without having done all those jobs.
So fast forwarding from 16 and all those roles that you had, what were some of your motivations for taking on the role at Virgin?
Well, I had my own company that I was running in Miami, and I actually met Richard at one of our boutique hotels, which was a wonderful hotel we had on South Beach, still there, called the Betsy. And we had developed that with some local partners, and he had fallen in love with the hotel. I met Richard, and we met for a cup of coffee in the lobby of the Betsy, and within about 30 minutes, he told me he was launching Virgin Hotels. He said, would I be interested? And I saw Virgin as a great extension into the lifestyle sector of the hotel business because, they had such an amazing following and still do. They had 60 million global consumers, and, they were the right consumers in my mind, the consumers that were mostly like traveling nomads, but also really cared about people, planet, and things that I valued quite a bit.
So you mentioned Richard Branson, and I'm sure you get the question a lot, what's it like to work with Richard Branson? But I don't want to be that guy. I really want to know, what was it like for you to have to develop a powerful and successful relationship working with someone like Richard, who has a global brand name recognition?
Well, I think the first thing you find out, if you want to have a relationship with Richard, the most important thing is that you be yourself. I mean, that's about it. I think Richard, certainly gravitates towards authentic people, and probably not people that follow him around because he's like Richard Branson. Him and the family are, some of the loveliest people that I've ever met. And He's incredibly approachable, just like he seems. But I would tell you that's the number one thing is to be authentic. Richard once in a while puts you on the spot, asks you a question about the business to know that you're grounded and thinking about the business. But he provides a lot of warmth in his interactions with you, and is always incredibly understanding and always gives great advice. And I had lots of great advice from him during the beginning years at Virgin Hotels.
So jumping from that first coffee with Richard, what was it like from the brand conception to the creation of Virgin Hotels as a market disruptor?
Well, it's pretty interesting, actually. When I actually left my old company and went to work for Virgin Hotels, we really started off with a PowerPoint presentation. And from that PowerPoint presentation, we put together the concept, the consumer journey, the employee journey, we did the wireframing for the technology and the consumer journey, and wrote all the operational processes. And all this had to happen before we bought the first hotel, which happened a couple of years after we launched the brand. So we did it from scratch, and it was really interesting because you had one hotel guy sitting in the middle of this group of incredibly smart people at Virgin that had a lot of wonderful ideas. So I remember those times when you'd walk around that room and there was 500 sticky notes on the wall, and of course you had to decide which of these were literally, pardon the pun, going to stick, right? But it was a lot of time, and it says a lot about the brand, how thoughtful it is, and how they think about innovation. There's really nothing out of bounds, right? They're just thinking a little bit farther ahead than everybody else. And it's a great open forum to be able to brainstorm with super talented people. I learned a lot during that period. I hope they did as well.
So at Virgin Hotels, we know that you're passionate about creating brilliant experiences that make people's lives better. How important was it establishing a great internal work culture for your team to provide those irresistible experiences?
More important than anything. I mean, that was our number one target, is to create a very, very strong culture that aligns itself with the Virgin brand. Look, it wasn't that difficult because we had a great model to begin with, right? It wasn't like in my prior company, every time that we started up a hotel, we had to understand and create whatever the culture of that independent hotel was. But with Virgin, it had a great follower. We had a saying that, Virgin consumers are not really customers. They're more like raving fans. And that really translated down to our teammates. I mean, we had amazing amounts of people that wanted to come work for the brand, wanted to understand the brand. And we took a great deal of time, also the same amount of time that we spent crafting the consumer experience. We also came up crafting the employee journey. What was that going to be like? So, we actually did flow charts on all that information as well, just to see if we could come up with something that was a little bit different, that would give us a little bit of innovation towards our competitive set, because hotels are very competitive, especially in the labor market. And I think we did.
So great. I've always loved my experiences at Virgin Hotels. More insights, more terrific insights when we come back with Raul. We're back with Raul Leal, former CEO of Virgin Hotels and current Virgin Group board advisor. So with the effects of the pandemic of the past year, we know industries around travel and hospitality were greatly impacted due to health risks and travel restrictions. What strategies did you and your team facilitate in response to the changes in normal travel and also hotel bookings?
Well, I mean, last year, it was a bit ad hoc. I mean, it had to be. We were basically reacting to what the market had to give us, right? I mean, it broke our hearts when we had to, furlough so many teammates, and we held on as long as we possibly could. Luckily, because our operations are very heavy on the food and beverage side, our operations actually came back earlier than most. Actually, our biggest issue was actually keeping, some consumers out during the many restrictions in the different, states that we were represented in. But I think from our perspective, it's always been about this. We wanted to make sure that we treated people as fairly as we possibly could. communicated with them often. I go back to one of the strategies that we implemented on the employee side when we launched the brand, is we launched our own internal app called the Beat. And the Beat for us was as important as our consumer app, because it gave us the opportunity to communicate with our teammates at all times, and also do training online, and also be able to communicate with them in real time and let them know things were happening. So that strategy long-term worked out really, really well for us. But, for us, of course, we were restricted like everybody else with, the different marketplaces that we were in, and we were a bit controlled as to what we could do. But now as we reopen, we are seeing an uptick in demand everywhere as of the time that I left. And I think the industry will be back furiously as there's so much pent-up demand.
So when you look at the future, do you believe the pandemic will have a long-lasting impact on the hotel industry?
I do. I believe it will. I think that systemically some things have changed, forever. I think consumers will definitely be gravitating towards hotels and places that have built-in experiences. And I think hotels that don't compete or don't keep up with providing more than just a hotel room are going to have a tough time in the future. I think the younger generation especially is looking for, a bit of a location where they can enjoy many things, not just doing business there, but also enjoying, the local community, but also they want to see what the hotel has to offer as well. So I think the industry is going to have to adapt. We're going to have to be flexible. And again, the home away from home thing, it probably won't work anymore. I think now it's going to be about what kind of entertainment can we also provide on many levels? How do we keep our consumers entertained while they're inside our hotels? So I really believe that.
So you're kind of alluding at some of the shifts or trends that are emerging. So are you seeing specific trends that will continue to happen within the industry, or that will emerge as we move toward a new normal over the next few years?
I think the staycation trend is here to stay, because I do think you'll get lots of people that will be hesitant to travel long distances. So I think your city and local and regional hotels are really going to benefit from this trend in the next few years for sure, until people feel confident that the vaccine really works, that there's nothing else around the corner in workforce. So I think those trends are going to stay. I also think that if you see a lot of hotels are reimagining their designs a little bit to make their lobbies and their public areas a little bit more neighborhood friendly, and not just a place where you look at the wonderful furniture and can't sit down, right? They're activating them a little bit more. So I do think those trends will continue, as well as the technology trends, continuing to improve on seamless check-in, not interacting in some cases with the staff, and all that digitally.
So you're talking about changes within the industry, and we know the world is changing at really just fast rates. So with you recently stepping down as CEO of Virgin Hotels, what can we expect to come next in your story?
Well, something dramatic, I hope. But I think, for sure I'll be looking, soon in the near future to, be involved with another organization that has a strong social impact footprint. I think that the world is craving leadership at this point, and it's going to take more than local governments. Leaders have to lead during this period of time. And, I do think it's an old adage, but knowledge is power. And I was having a dialogue with Richard Branson about a couple of years ago. He had thoughtfully invited me to a sustainability event at the United Nations, and there was a bunch of other great leaders there, other CEOs of other companies. And, I thought it was a good meeting, but Richard asked me what I thought after the fact. And I said, it's interesting, a lot of high-level dialogue about social impact and sustainability and what forth. But what I wonder is how do companies bring that down to a level where your teammates can really understand that and pass it on to their families, right? And I was reading a recent story, which I thought was terrific, where Starbucks was actually including family members, in some of their inclusion and diversity initiatives, or videos and training videos that they actually put their own teams through. And I thought that's terrific leadership, to actually get to the families of our team members and make sure that they're well educated on the things that matter to them. Because I think it's going to take all of us, not just local government, not just business, and the more well-informed all of us are, the better world that we're going to be able to build, especially in these trying times. everything kind of ties into each other, into each other right now. Sustainability, diversity and inclusion, and AI. We're at this intersection at the moment where all those things are converging, and we need to make sure that AI doesn't take over the world, that we don't let it take over the world, that we're still in charge at the end, hopefully.
Couldn't agree more. Terrific insights. More with Raul after this break. Welcome back. We're talking with Raul Leal, former CEO of Virgin Hotels and current Virgin Group board advisor. Every week on The Room, we're going to ask our guests the same 5 questions. Now, Raul, as someone who has worked in the hospitality industry for over 25 years, I hope you'll appreciate how we're trying to capture feedback on the same topics from every guest we have. Are you ready for your 5 questions?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Number 1. What do you see as the biggest opportunities that businesses aren't taking advantage of in the world today?
There's a few, but I do think I alluded to it a little bit. I think information sharing and education. I think every business needs to step up, and there is, it's such a great time to be alive. It really is. There is so much information available to all of us, and if we can channel that information well through businesses and provide our teams at the different businesses, whatever they may be, those opportunities to learn and make them better for their next opportunity. What goes around comes around. And I think that education is an area that every business needs to have a strategy for.
That's great. If you could have one conversation with one person from any time or anywhere, who would it be?
A good one. There's been so many, but I guess I would say you probably wouldn't learn anything more from Jesus Christ than anybody else. I would think he would be the logical individual. I would think, given all the wisdom and everything that's been passed down through the Bible. So I would think it'd be Jesus Christ.
Okay. Number 3. What is one book every person in business should read, and why?
Well, one of my favorites is I read it in the mid-90s. I still love it. It's Built to Last by Jim Collins, I believe. One of my favorites, and I've used it, and the studies of that book, I actually used it growing my own company and also with Virgin Hotels. It really is a book that focuses your attention on the importance that beliefs and purpose have on the growth of a business, and how to sustain that business over time, and not worry about CEOs coming and going, but sustaining the business through purpose and beliefs.
That's great. Number 4, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Surround yourself with the best people possible. And I still believe it. It makes your life as a leader so much easier, and the stronger people around you, the better.
And number 5, why is a conversation better than a lecture?
Well, just think of everything you can learn if you listen. And listening is really at the key of good leadership, management, and what forth, right? I just think that if you're listening to during a conversation, really paying attention to what the other individual is saying, not only does it show respect for them, but there's always an opportunity to learn from other people.
All great answers, Raul. That was a lot of fun. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank Raul Leal for being our guest today on The Room and sharing great information. Raul, what would you like to leave us with today?
Look, I think we're at an intersection, business and life. And I just think for all of us, it's important that we can figure out ways to, as I mentioned, to collaborate, be kind to each other, figure out the important things that we need to resolve in our own individual communities and our different cities throughout this country and in the world. But at the end of it, I think collaboration is the most important thing. People say there's a lot of money out there. Well, money's not going to fix the issues. It's the combined brain power of those closest to the issue. So I would say just be kind to each other and learn along the way.
So what I heard you say was be kind, collaborate, and the world needs leadership. Is that right?
No doubt about it.
Awesome. Thank you, Raul. Join us next week when our guest will be Josh Linkner. Josh has been the founder and CEO of 5 tech companies, which sold for a combined value of over $200 million, and is the author of 4 books, including the New York Times bestsellers, Disciplined Dreaming and The Road to Reinvention. I'm John Lanius. We'll see you next time on The Room.